Happy Tuesday to you. This is Nick Capozzi, Razzball Radio on the Fantasy Sports Network, and happy Election Day to you in the U.S. And if you're in Canada, happy 18th snowstorm of the year day. That's how it is. And if you're watching us in Bolivia, we like you even more. It's Tuesday, so on Tuesdays, I'm joined by the most beautiful man in fantasy sports, Tehol Beddict. Tehol, welcome to Razzball Radio. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing wonderful, and you mentioned Bolivia. Shout out to all my women over in Bolivia. We do it. They love me over there. My calendar's a big seller over there.
Yes, it is. You know what? And I need to give a special shout out today to the wonderful guys who actually produce our show, Sean and Cody, up at the Fantasy Sports Network in Toronto, because these guys, not only do they produce our show and have a hard time making me try and look even decent next to your beauty, but they handle these crates and pallets of love letters you get from our female fans all over the world. So, Cody, Sean, you guys are the bomb. We should get them on and talk about how they handle that.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to them about it anytime, man.
All right, listen, you know what I want to talk to you about?
Maybe just read them all on our show next week. Maybe have a special segment, a special show one day of the week where it maybe double the length of the regular shows and just read those.
We don't have that kind of time because it would take too long.
Okay.
Anyway, enough about you. We're not talking about how pretty you are anymore anyway till we get Beatrice the chicken on. So let's talk. Let's get into waiver wire stuff. Let's kick off with Martavis Bryant. This guy has been on fire. 5 touchdowns in 3 games. Now, obviously, this has coincided with Ben Roethlisberger making a deal with the devil to throw more touchdowns in the last 2 games than he's had since 2005. But Martavis Bennett, 43% ownership in Yahoo, 20% in ESPN. This guy should not be available, Tehol.
No, he shouldn't. I was shocked and happy that I didn't bring him up last week, which is kind of strange, but I'm just glad.
Yeah, you shouldn't really point out your mistakes like that,
Yeah, it gives us somewhat exciting to talk about this week, so it all works out in the end. You know, it worked out. I've seen him on a bunch of people's lists, and I'm like, isn't this guy already owned? But I guess not. So he's available in still quite a few leagues, 5 TDs in the only 3 games he's been active. He's kind of surpassed Wheaton there in the pecking order, although I should mention that Wheaton has really stepped up his game as of late also, as they're both playing well and complementing.
Everyone has stepped up their game on that Pittsburgh team offensively.
Yeah,
But here's what I like about Bryant. Sorry to interrupt you. Here's what I like about Bryant. He's 6'4". I mean, he's a big, tall guy, red zone presence, and Brown and Wheaton are both kind of sub 6 foot. So those extra few inches kind of reminds me almost a little bit of when Big Ben had Plaxico Burress back in the day.
Yeah, he's a big body like that. He's also a straight line burner. The guy has great deep speed, so he's kind of a nice combo there. If he could get the body control down like a Plex, there's no stopping this guy. Steal in the 4th round of the draft for them, for Pittsburgh in the draft. That's a great pick.
All right. Hey, are you going out to vote in the great state of Washington today?
No.
Why not?
Felons can't vote.
Arrested for breaking too many hearts. Mark Sanchez next on the list. Mark Sanchez, 6% ownership, Yahoo, 0% on ESPN. This guy, in theory, could plug and play into Chip Kelly's offense with Nick Foles out. Now, with this type of injury, you're probably looking 6 to 8 weeks. So Sanchez is going to be at the controls of this team for probably the rest of the fantasy season, as well as the fantasy playoffs and maybe even the NFL playoffs. We're going to see a lot of Mark Sanchez. How do you see this guy sorting out there?
Well, he's in the Eagles' offense, and they've made it clear they're not going to change up the play calling. They're not going to change anything. Chip Kelly is going to trust his guy. I won't be starting him anywhere, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't or that you can't. He's if you have a bad matchup or your guy gets hurt or whatever the case may be, I wouldn't have a problem plugging this guy in because he's gonna pile up the attempts, and he looked fairly accurate last week. I mean, he had 2 touchdown passes over 200 yards. The one pick wasn't even his fault. He had 2 picks, but one of them clearly wasn't his fault. The receiver just bungled it off his hands. He looks fine to me. I think he in that offense they're just going to keep humming, and he'll just pile up stats due to that.
All right, so next up is Alfred Blue. This guy's actually number 1 on my list this week. And the reason is that I really like the Texans' schedule going forward. So Houston, you got to deal with a bye week, but then they've got Cincinnati. No, sorry, I apologize. They have Cleveland, who's 29th against the run. Cincinnati, who's 30th. Tennessee, who's 25th. Jacksonville, who's 28th. That is a lot of opportunity to run, and we're going to talk about that right after this break. Tehol, Razzball Radio, Fantasy Sports Network. Welcome back, Razzball Radio, Fantasy Sports Network. Nick Capozzi, Tehol Beddict, at Beddict143 on the tweet machine. Okay, before the break, we were setting up Alfred Blue, who's got some great matchups upcoming. Is he the number one guy to pick up this week?
Yeah, definitely. I was kind of surprised he's still owned in that many leagues, especially with Arian kind of battling the injuries of old that he's usually had. He's so brittle. Everyone knows he's going to get hurt. What do you know? Right in the middle of another monster day. Let me say, Arian Foster has totally blown me away this year. But pulled groin, going to be a little while. We got the bye. I kind of doubt he'll be back in the week after that. So
now, the Texans, sort of interrupt you, but the Texans did say he's going to be day-to-day. I'm not buying that. This guy has had more groin pulls than probably Tehol's girlfriends in the day. So I'm all in on Blue this week. You got to deal with that bye week. But again, once again, the defenses he's up against: Cleveland 29th, Cincinnati 30th, Tennessee 25th, Jacksonville 28th. This is rushing defenses. This guy could blow up.
Yeah, he's averaging 3-4 a carry, but he had the game he started earlier this year. He looked very serviceable, and he looks better than a guy who averages 3-4 a carry. Let's just say he has the talent to get it done. If he gets a full workload, he's going to get on. By the way, how is Cincinnati 30th and Rundy? What's going on with these guys? Burfett still. They look terrible. How are they so weak against the run? I thought they were stacked on D. I'm a little concerned about Cincinnati, but this is about Alfred Blue. He's going to be big.
This is why we run the numbers for you, people. This is why we run the numbers. All right, you got Vernon Davis on this list. We'll just cover him briefly because he's owned almost everywhere. But the point is, and the reason he is on your list, is because he is available in some leagues. People have dropped him.
He's getting dropped, man. I had to put him on here because he's getting dropped. I mean, he may be only dropping 5 to 10% each week, but he's down in ESPN leagues, which I'm in. He's down to 75, 80%, and I'm sure that it probably won't drop this week and the reason I'm mentioning him is because there's so many buys for tight ends this week. It seems like every good tight end is on a buy. This guy's against the Saints. I mean, who would you rather play, Vernon Davis against a suspect Saints secondary or just like a total no-name bum? I mean, I'm taking the upside with Vern. It's a must-win game. They've got to hit him. Hopefully he gets it together. The injuries are scary, but, I wouldn't be bringing him up if there weren't this many buys, but he's definitely owned. But the point is he's getting dropped, and I think he's still worth the upside to own at this point, period. I mean, we don't have to talk about it, but I'm a fan. Have you seen his body? The guy's got a great body. It's gorgeous. ESPN The Mag, check it out. Hopefully I'm in next year's edition with me and you side by side, mankinis together.
Yeah, you don't want me in a mankini, brother. I mean, I'm in the gym. I'm in the gym 5 days a week right now, but you do not want me in a mankini. Listen, you were an underwear model, brother. You got me at a disadvantage. All right. Speaking of disadvantages, if you have shares in the Baltimore running back situation, sorry, I apologize. Justin Forsett has been a great surprise, but Taliaferro, this is a guy who can actually put the biscuit in the basket. This guy can score touchdowns. He's available in 65% of Yahoo leagues, 70% of ESPN leagues. So look, you can go on. I'm surprised actually because this guy's a pretty good runner.
Yeah, he's a real nice running back, and I think he coughed one up last week, but he's a grinder. But he's averaging over 4 a carry, 4.3 a carry. He's got 4 TDs on the ground. He's got almost 100 yards rushing. I mean, he can catch the little pass, take it up the gut. I mean, I really love what Forsett's been doing, and surprised he hasn't stuck with another team, because he's been so serviceable for other teams, but they always seem to just let him walk. But this guy's the perfect complement. Pierce just isn't working. The guy's just not good. And I also put Taliaferro on this list so I could bring up the fact that Bernard Pierce, I don't know if he's getting inactive because he's hurt or because he was caught. His teammates know, or the GM knows and the owner knows that this guy's having strippers back at his house. They're setting him up.
Allegedly.
The guys come over, duct tape him up, steal all his stuff because
allegedly
some grimy strippers over to the crib.
All right,
come on.
I can't say allegedly enough. We should just
Oh,
have
it's
like
true.
instead of like a beep, we should have like an allegedly sounder, like allegedly,
I
allegedly.
thought I know the strippers personally. It's a fact. They
All
call
right.
me immediately.
Listen, get Taliaferro. I like Taliaferro a lot, and I'm surprised he's available. So, strippers or not. Okay, Bobby Rainey, available in more than half of Yahoo leagues, available in almost 80% of ESPN leagues, which really surprised me because this guy has really been a great pass catcher. I mean, he's somewhat of a journeyman. I think that's fair to say. I think Charles Sims, I actually thought Charles Sims would get an opportunity last week, and he did not. So Sims is hovering there. Martin, as far as I'm concerned, is done. But he's kind of like Darren Sproles light, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah, he's as much like Darren Sproles as anyone could be. That's in the league right now that I can really think of, at least one of the very few. He's very explosive. He's done a nice job. 4.6 a carry, 9.3 a catch. He's looking good. I mean, it's weird that Doug Martin had so long of a leash in the first place. The guy's just been nothing but terrible
Yeah.
ever since his great rookie year. And Rainey's been really nice for him. Sims will get an opportunity at some point, but what are they gonna split? I mean, are they just gonna give him all the carries? I don't think so. I think it's at least gonna be a split. And plus, you got Rainey in on third downs, catches, stuff like that. So it's kind of a risky play. But if you've got a running back hurt or on a bye, I'd like to have a guy like this in there that has a chance to catch a ball and take it the distance at any moment. Guy's got breakaway speed. I'm a fan.
Yeah, he absolutely does. Okay, let's stay with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's talk about Mike Evans for a second because I was kind of surprised when I was looking up the ownerships today. He's owned in 61% of Yahoo leagues, which even I thought was a little bit low. He's only owned in 32% of ESPN leagues. That shocked me. I mean, this guy's good. You can even argue he's better than Vincent Jackson right now.
Yeah, you could make that argument. Glennon seems to trust him, or maybe Vincent Jackson's been hurt. Maybe he's not quite himself, or whatever the case may be. He's definitely developed a nice connection with Evans, who's looking real good, especially on the deep ball. Just like in college, he's adjusting to the ball. He's kind of transitioned just probably how the scouts hoped he would. It's nice for me to see. It's like I had a little foresight. I drafted him in a couple drafts, eighth, ninth, 10th round, kind of excited about it. And then, of course, 5-6 weeks ago, I had to drop him to make a move because he wasn't producing.
Right.
But now he's on fire. 2 TDs last week, 120 yards, almost saved the game for the Bucks. But they can't buy a win. But yeah, he's a very explosive leaper, high point the ball, good, very good athlete, just to the ball in the air. He's a prototype. That's what you want out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of prototypes, I thought Kyle Rudolph was going to blow the league up. Big guy, soft hands. Is it the offense or is it the player?
Kyle Rudolph,
Yeah.
well, I think it's the offense. I mean, imagine this guy, in place of Gronk or something. He's not Gronk. He's not that great, but he's not that far off. I mean, he's really good. He would put up some crazy stats in New England if he was healthy.
Yeah.
First of all, he's got to be healthy. Second of all, if he's in a different offense, he's going to be getting off. But what I do like is Bridgewater's is loving the connection he's had with the backup tight end. Blanking on his name at the moment, but so if Rudolph's in for that guy.
Chase Ford.
Yeah, Ford. Yeah, that's right. Oh, Ford. Yeah, he's had over 60 2 weeks in a row, including a touchdown. So if you replace him with Rudolph, somebody who's an explosive freak athlete like he is, that maybe Bridgewater's feeling the tight ends right now. Maybe Rudolph's going to come back. And he's hardly owned anywhere right now. The tight ends, there's a handful of really good tight ends.
28%
right
in Yahoo, 10% in ESPN. Listen, we're going to talk about some more players right after this CLT. We're going to go to break. This is Razzball Radio Fantasy Sports Network. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Razzball Radio Fantasy Sports Network. Nick Capozzi, Tehol Beddict, the Razzball lover. Women love this guy. And you could argue right now that Ryan Tannehill isn't getting enough love by the fantasy community. 58% ownership in Yahoo, 40% in ESPN. This guy's been on fire. The only negative thing I could say downside here is he's got Detroit and Buffalo coming up, but he's been really good.
Yeah, I've kind of said some negative things about him in the past just because I'm not a fan of everything that he's kind of done. I just was never a believer. And what really annoys me is his problems throwing the deep. He still can't seem to throw a deep ball. It's like the most inaccurate deep ball passer in the NFL, which is mind blowing because he's such a nice athlete and throws such a nice
Right.
ball. I don't understand the inaccuracy. I'd like to see Mike Wallace getting at least one deep ball a game or at least a couple of connections. But he's had over 20 points in standard scoring for the last 5 weeks. I can't ignore him, including like a 30 bomb and a couple, a couple in the high 20s there. 245. He's on pace for over 500 yards rushing on the season. I mean, the guy's a great athlete. As you said, the schedule toughens up quite a bit here. On the road at Detroit, you might have a better option this week. But I mean, if the guy's hot, I mean, sometimes when you're hot, you're hot. I don't know.
Speaking of hot, have you seen his wife? I say that with all due respect.
I know his wife very well.
Google Ryan Tannehill's wife.
Oh,
She's beautiful. She's lovely. She does great things in the community. Lovely lady. That's what I meant by beautiful person. Work with me here, T.
On the inside.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Philadelphia. I was kind of surprised that you have Chris Polk on the list because this guy's owning 1% in Yahoo, 0% in ESPN. Obviously, the backup to McCoy in Philadelphia. Now, Shady this year has not been scoring. The touchdowns have been limited, but I think he's been rushing well, especially the last few weeks. So I'm not worried about McCoy. I don't think he's getting overworked. If he was getting the touches that DeMarco Murray was getting, I'd be all over Chris Polk handcuff. But I don't know if I'm with you here, bro.
Hey man, I wanted to get real deep out here. This guy's getting no love. It's like what 1% or less than that. Everyone's owning handcuffs. Why isn't every McCoy? I mean, you don't need to be worried about McCoy getting hurt, but why he should be handcuffed on your roster? This guy had 8 carries for 50 yards and a touchdown last week. His University of Washington legend, my hometown. The guy is getting it done, and he returns kicks. I mean, I play in a league where you get points for 25 yards each kick return. I mean, that's a bonus right there if you happen to be in a league like that. 1% of leagues. I mean, the guy, and he's probably got just as many touchdowns, or what, one or two less than McCoy on the season.
Your University of Washington Husky bias is coming out here.
Well, I just wanted to get real deep for a handcuff that people just aren't even mentioning. I mean, before the season, everyone's excited about the Seahawks, like a Christine Michael. Like people are actually hyping this guy up like he's going to do something. People are talking about handcuffs like they're worth anything, but all they are is a handcuff. So you're gambling to get lucky. So if we're going to do that, if McCoy goes down, Polk's going to be just fine.
Yeah, no, listen, he's not McCoy, there's no question, but if he did go down, he would obviously be the running back, especially when they traded Bryce Brown in the offseason. Hey, speaking of Washington Huskies, what happened to Bishop Sankey? What's going on there?
Oh my God! See,
I don't want to make you upset.
I was never the hugest believer in him. Like before his senior year.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm calling you out on that because we did an off-season football show this year, and you were like, Sankey.
Well, yeah, he's in the best situation NFL-wise of the draft picks who got taken.
This was before the draft. We taped that show. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna dig it up.
All he has to do is beat out Sean Green, man. He's the #1 running back taken. He's just had one. They're not pounding the ball. You see a lot of these games where he's got like 12 carries,
right now.
9 carries. It's like, what is going on out here? He's just not getting it done. The O-line should be fine, although Levitre is not living up to his contract. The whole line's not really living up to what they should be. But I have to think down the stretch, I'm still holding out hope that he's going to get something done for the Dogs.
Yeah, we'll see.
And
all right,
Titans.
Let's talk tight ends here. Charles Clay, 44% ownership in Yahoo, 20% in ESPN. This guy's really talented. I don't think people realize. He's always been a good bye-week filler for me the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But he's kind of on the verge of being startable right now.
Yeah, he's been struggling, but he had a nice week last week with a TD over 60 yards. He's finally shown a spark. He hasn't been quite what everyone kind of expected of him out of this year, but as we mentioned earlier, and as you mentioned with the bye week filler, this is a big week. I mean, we got Gronk out, Gates out, Jordan Reed. There's a ton of tight ends out this week. You got to go with somebody.
Yes, you do.
He's not a bad op. You could just go. You could just leave nobody in there and
You
take
know
the
what I
goose
did last
egg.
week in a really important league I play in? I dropped Clay for Tim Wright, thinking that Wright would have a good game against the Broncos, and he goose
I
egged.
Yeah, I dropped Fleener for some bum I can't even think of last night. I mean, and then Fleener has his greatest game of his life. I mean, it's tragic. Fantasy can be so tragic at times. We should write a play about it. If only Shakespeare was alive to really put this into.
Like a Romeo and Juliet, kind of like Russell Wilson and Jermaine Kearse.
Ugh.
Let's not talk about Kearse. Let's talk about teammate Paul Richardson. 1% Yahoo, 0% ESPN. I believe he was a second round pick out of Colorado, right?
Yeah, this is another just deep flyer, maybe 14 team league, 16 team league even. Jermaine Kearse looks so bad to me. He's from my hometown of Lakewood, Washington. I feel bad dogging him out like that, but I'm not going to pull any punches just because you're from the hood. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're from my hood, I'm not going to let you off the hook. You understand? You're going to be bricking, dropping balls. You get the number 2 receiving job, and then you just chuck. This is what I was concerned about before the season. Like, now we don't have Harvin, and Kearse is just struggling. I mean, he's not getting it done. He had 7 targets last week, had like 4 yards receiving. He made a couple plays on special teams. We'll keep him on special teams then. Put Paul Richardson in there. Let him go deep. The guy is a burner. He returns kicks also. So again, if you get points for that, or even he's going to break a kick soon enough. And I think they're going to really start to try to get him and possibly the other rookie, Norwood, out of Alabama, the ball a little bit more because, like I said, Kearse,
They got to do something.
not getting it done.
They got to do something, man. And I listen. I'm not really sure what's wrong with Seattle this year. From a defensive standpoint, you know what? I wish I had more time to kind of talk about this with you because I know you watch a lot of Seahawks. But I'm going to wrap this up, Mr. Tehol. You can find Tehol Beddict at Beddict143 on Twitter. Tweet him. He'll tweet you back. You can tweet me at Nick Capozzi, NickCapozzi. You can start to say questions. You know what? I get back to everybody. And if I miss someone,
So do I.
apologize. Yeah, we're good at that. We're going to wrap this up, guys. We'll be back tomorrow with Smokey. This is Razzball Radio on the Fantasy Sports Network. See you on Wednesday.